Recently, I celebrated $200,000 of revenue in my business, and it's just the first year of business for me. In this episode, I am diving into the juiciest tips and secrets, strategies, lessons that I've learned that I want to share with all of you in order to inspire you and remind you that with the law of oneness, what is possible for one is possible for all. When in reality, I was only looking to manifest $100,000. The universe looked at that and said, let's double it right now. And so I'm sharing with you my beliefs about success, my money mindset, things I had to understand, things I needed to let go, limiting beliefs I need to destroy, and how matching the masculine and feminine energies in my business allowed me to experience this insane, fulfilling, satisfying, huge success in my life and milestone in my business. Let's dive right in.
I'm your host, Tiffany Chung, your go-to for all things marketing, mindset, and manifestation. I grew my online business from 0 to beyond 6 figures in 8 months. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most aligned versions of themselves. If you are ready to take charge of your life, learn how to design a wildly successful business, and leave limiting beliefs behind, you've come to the right place. You will learn the actionable tips and step-by-step strategies on money, manifestation, and social media. It's time to step into your role as boss, to raise your vibration, and tap into your unlimited potential today. Welcome to the Social Reset Podcast.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Social Reset Podcast. Today, I want to talk about a huge milestone that I've hit very recently in my business, and that is the 200,000 revenue number mark before I reached my first year in business. So this is insane to me because, so many reasons. First of all, just the fact that I was able to make $200,000 in less than a year when I had before that less than $1,000 in the bank account at one time. Literally didn't know how to hold on to money, didn't know how to really value money, and didn't realize how much of a shitty money mindset that I truly had. And I truly believe, and I say this all the time, that the success of my business is directly correlated with my personal development as a human being. So the inner child healing my mother wounds, my father wounds, allowing to myself to show up as the most powerful mom that I can be to my daughter, as well as understanding my own trauma, healing my own trauma, healing the abuse that I've gone through, all of the things that I've experienced as a human being. I show up better as a coach, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a mentor, as a guide because of these things. Me being able to tap into my pleasure, my femininity, my divine feminine, all of that has been a part of this journey of hitting $200,000. So let's take it back to April 2020, when I was first starting to take on paid clients for the very first time in my entire life, but as a social media business coach. So when I first started, my program was wildly different than where it is today. Let's just be totally honest. I was also a completely different person than I was. I was this, scared, lost, scattered business owner that was like, is this really going to work? Please help me. I was preparing for my client sessions the night before. I would have this sweaty anxiety leading all the way up until my client sessions, starting from the night before, because I just felt this huge imposter syndrome. And it wasn't that I didn't know what I was talking about. I had grown my platform organically to 60,000, I think around close to 70,000 followers at that time. And I literally worked in digital media, digital marketing and social media as a social media manager, an events coordinator, marketing and communications manager. I've done all these jobs prior to becoming a coach. And so I knew that I had experience, but I had never worked with clients before. And so it just gave me this really big scare. And I was definitely overthinking things and thinking I had to plan out every single session before I jumped on the call with my clients, almost to a point where I wouldn't even let them speak because I was just so afraid of like the noise or like the white silence, in between that would be so deafening, and I was so afraid that they would look at me and think like, does she really know what she's doing? Even though I did. And so over time, and again, this really just took time. It just took some action. It just took some inspired action in order for me to be like, you know what? I can do this. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and I can attract the right person. And that was big for me too. In the very beginning, I only worked with content creators, and I quickly realized that content creators weren't my main focus for a lot of reasons. One of them being that a lot of content creators only saw it as a side hustle, and they weren't willing to invest, high ticket into a coaching program as much as coaches were, who were really, really in it and wanted to see their passion turn into a full-blown business. I did still work with a couple of really high-performing content creators after that, as I still do. But my bread and butter is coaches, whether new or established coaches looking to up-level their marketing. I love, love, love working with coaches. And again, that also took experimentation. It also took me being okay with falling flat on my face and going, all right, I don't know if any coaches are going to want to work with me because I've never worked with a coach before, but here I fucking go. It was literally just that. It was no planned out strategy of like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to follow, and this is the content I'm going to create. No, it was literally me showing up as the content creator Tiffany that now had a coaching business and thought, well, let me just serve content creators, and realizing I didn't want to. I wanted to help someone step into their passion and to grow a coaching business that would light them the F up. And that's what I love doing now. And that's why I've rebranded from a social media business coach to a business activation coach. I want to help people activate their businesses. Even if you're not a first-time business owner, I want to help you energetically activate and have an energetic rebrand to a point where your business lights you up so much that you don't want to take a break from it. But guess what? You get to because there is flow, and there's space, and there's time, and there's patience, and there is just this open freedom that you're able to express, and you have options and opportunities in your business to do so because you are that badass CEO that you are capable of being. So when I first started my business, it was a lot of this like very scrappy, I don't know what I'm doing, very scared kind of imposter syndrome energy. And I just started to allow myself to experiment. I allowed myself to fail. I allowed myself to try and try again. And I kept picking myself back up over and over and over. And I don't believe that there is any such thing as failure. I believe the only failure is when we throw in the towel and say, nope, I'm not doing this anymore. I give up. That is how I define failure. And I've said this before as well, but I will say it again. I'll die on this hill. 0 clients does not mean failure. 0 signups does not mean failure. $0 in the bank, $0 in revenue does not mean failure. Failure is when you give up and say, I quit. I do not want to do this anymore. The best thing that you can do if you're feeling like that is looking at the feedback that you have, looking at failure as feedback and asking yourself, okay, so this didn't work. What can I try instead? Or, okay, this didn't work. Where can I realign? Or if it feels aligned with you, investing in a coach that really speaks to you, speaks your language, has the results, has the lifestyle you want to live, and reaching out to them and saying, hey, what are some of your offers or some ways that we can work together? That's exactly what I did in starting my first, coaching program, was reaching out to the only coach I knew at the time. And funnily enough, when I reached out to him, I had just lost my job. I don't even think I mentioned this in my full story. But I reached out to him, and because he was a remote job coach, I was like, can you please help me find a remote job? And he was like, Tiffany, you were meant for this. You were meant to become a coach. He was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. What am I doing? Help me, guide me. And so he took me on as a client, even though he wasn't really a business coach at the time, but he had so much experience and he had so much expertise that he was like, okay, let me guide you. And we essentially started started off doing a trade, and then I ended up hiring him and investing in his one-on-one services. And then from there, I've gone on to hire different coaches for different reasons. Money coach, I'm working with an intuitive human design coach right now. I'm about to start working with a mindset coach certified in NLP, time techniques, just all of that good stuff. And so at each stage in my journey, I've been able to and have had the pleasure to work with specific coaches and invest in that education. Because again, it's not that you can't do it all on your own. And I don't believe that you 100% need to work with a coach in order to be successful. I believe that people can find success in so many different infinite amounts of ways. But for me, every time I've hired a coach, it's been very much in alignment with me. It's been very much, their energy calling to me. And I honestly love working with coaches. I love having one-on-one support. I know I work best in one-on-one environments when someone's giving me all of their attention, all of their energy. And sometimes people come to me and they know that off the bat. They're like, no, I need you one-on-one. What is the one-on-one container offer? And I'm like, yes, you are my kind of people. And yeah, working in that kind of environment has allowed me to streamline my success in a way that I wouldn't have been able to do so quickly on my own. Not that I wouldn't have ever been able to do it, but having someone who's gone ahead of you, has done the trial and errored their way out of it, and is now showing you a shortcut and is able to look at your business from a bird's eye view and say, all right, this is where you can improve. This is what you're doing well. This is where you can, maybe you can listen to my suggestions on how I did it this way, or here are some resources for that, or asking me like, why do you feel like you need to do this? Where is that coming from? And digging deeper. Oh my goodness, invaluable. Truly such a game changer in my life, and also why I love showing up for my clients, especially because I also coach based on human design. And so it isn't just me telling you, all right, this works for me. Well, this should work for you. Go and run free. Good luck. Bye. No, it is very much based on the energetic signature of my clients and their unique talents and abilities and what lights them up. Actually asking them that, does this light you up? Is this something you feel called to? Or does this feel like another thing that you have to do? Right? And that's so powerful, because when I first started my business, this is literally what ran me into the ground and gave me, I kid you not, a vertigo. I have never experienced that before, and I thought I was dying. I had no idea what was wrong with me until I read Rachel Hollis's Girl Wash Your Face, and she was like, one of the chapters was like, I experienced vertigo, and one of the doctors told me to just go home and lay down. I couldn't do that. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. Who have I become? And I'm an Enneagram 3. I have Capricorn and Scorpio in my chart. I am a generator. And so I am just full of this energy, and I could honestly just do all day and all night until someone literally peels my body, possibly my dead body, off of my sit-stand desk that I'm sitting on right now and goes, all right, Tiffany, you need to go and rest. And so for me, I lean so much into my masculine energy. It's not even funny. I mean, it is funny because I'm laughing at myself for it right now, but it really can be dangerous in all seriousness, because I don't want to build a business where I reach $100,000 or now $200,000 and feel unfulfilled. That's not what I'm about. And that's also why I've shifted my own businesses into, manifesting and mindset and coaching based on human design and divine femininity and surrendering and receiving in your business rather than just do, and all of the hustle and everything incorporated with that hustle culture, which really comes from lack, right? Hustle culture and hustle energy and that wounded masculine comes from this place of, if I do not do this, I will not get this. It comes from, if I do not do this in my business is going to fail. Rather than, I get to do this for my business. This lights me up. This is something that makes a lot of sense for me. And so there are a lot of things that I ended up removing from my business, such as done for you services. I used to do social media management, Instagram engagement for my clients. It just ended up being tasks that I didn't really want to end up doing, to be honest. And then even discovery calls, which I did for such a long time in my business. And to be grateful, I'm so glad that I started off with that. It gave me such good market research. I did exceptionally well on them. I actually really enjoyed connecting with my soon-to-be clients at that time and, being able to build those like very live, very energetic conversations. But after a while, they drained me and they would take up to an hour each time. And as a single mom and as a business owner, I'm also still in school. If I do 2, 3 of those, my day is pretty much up. And so it was a limiting belief that I was holding on to, that if I don't do discovery calls, my business is going to fail. And guess what? I've shifted to both DMs and literally just a checkout page, and no failure insight at all. I've actually been able to hit $200,000. I've actually raised my prices since then, and I've booked high ticket clients, multi 4-figure clients through the DMs, through the checkout page, and it's been perfectly fine. And so it really is just the energy in which we create that determines the success and the results. It's the energy in which we show up and connect with our clients. It isn't the fancy aesthetic feed. It isn't the beautiful email list and branded emails. It isn't needing an entire website set up. These things are all nice and good, but they can also come later. You don't need to have all of these things set up in order to run a successful business. You just don't. And so if that's the thing that's holding you back, or the thing that you feel like you need in order to start your business, you don't. You really just need to start with connecting with your clients. Maybe have a page where people can learn a little bit more about you, a little bit more about the program, and a place where they can check out and give you their money. That's really all you need. And the more that I was able to identify that and allow those things like systems and funnels and email lists and all of that good stuff to come later, I was really focused on the number one thing that mattered the most to me. And that was connecting with my community, connecting with my clients, never, ever, ever seeing them as a number, never seeing them as likes and, just another invoice. It was really taking that deep care and love and compassion and empathy for where my clients were at and allowing them to get to their desire point, getting them to their full transformation in order to serve them in the best way possible. And so that's been really powerful for me. And that's been something that I've allowed myself to integrate both the masculine and the feminine, because the feminine and the masculine, these energies and these strategies, it isn't that one is good and the other is bad. We need a sacred union of both of them in order to operate with this balance in our lives and in our business. The masculine is the do. It's the action, it's the execution, it's the systems, it's the boundaries. The feminine is the being. It's embodying, it's listening to your intuition, it's manifesting, it's taking a step back, it's being in flow, it's just being. And so the more you can mesh the both of them and being able to show up in your business with both of these married together, it's such a beautiful game changer. One of my friends, Sarah, who I was just on her podcast, the Pleasurable Success podcast, she talks about how she does DM outreach. And this is something that feels really masculine. You're reaching out, you're sending these messages. Sometimes they're cold DMs. This is not something I do a lot in my business, but I've taken this strategy and implement it in other areas of my business. So what she does, because this is such a masculine strategy, she incorporates the feminine by getting dressed up in some sexy lingerie and whatever makes her feel good. And she taps into the divine feminine, and she literally just allows herself to come from this magnetic turned on energy, which is the highest level of vibration that you can experience. And she sends the messages from that energy. That again goes to show that it doesn't matter exactly what you say, or if you have a perfect sales copy or perfect written out captions or perfect emails that go out at the perfect times. It doesn't matter if you're coming from this energy of, I don't know if this is going to work. versus a simple checkout page, simple Instagram feed, but you're putting it out there with this energy of, yes, this gets to be magnetic and desirable and attractable. And I'm so excited for this. I am so excited. Like, just wait until people get a taste of this. It's going to be incredible. That energy is just so different. It's so different because it comes from this pleasure. It comes from success. It comes from fulfillment. And honestly, that is what has allowed me to hit $100,000 in 8 months. And then within these past 4 months, I've hit another $100,000. I've added another $100,000 in revenue. And people ask me, like, what is that strategy that you use? What was that thing that you did? What was the secret to your quick success? And there wasn't one. It wasn't a perfect strategy. It was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of realigning. It was a lot of trusting myself and trusting my gut and telling myself that I didn't need to do all the things that I felt like I had to. Right? Engaging for hours on Instagram, those discovery calls I was telling you about, things that people were telling me I needed in my business. I need to have a YouTube channel. I need to start a podcast. I started a podcast because it lit me up. And it was months after people were telling me to do it because I did it and I launched it from a place of, I get to do this. It was literally people saying, you should start a podcast, Tiffany. Oh my God, Tiffany, you have a perfect podcast voice. You need to start a podcast. Where's your podcast? I can't wait to binge you when I'm commuting to work. And I'd be like, well, I'll wait on it. We'll see how it feels. And then all of a sudden one day I was like, I should start a podcast. So I did. And it sounds funny, but I waited until the time that it lit me up in order to be like, yeah, I get to do this because now I want to. And if I had started a podcast because everyone was asking me to, it would come from this place of like, oh my God, I have to because I'm going to lose my clients and I'm going to lose my community. And so many successful people have podcasts and I don't have one. Then, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? No, it wasn't coming from that lack, anxious, scarcity energy. It was coming from, I have a story to share. And guess what? I thought about it and I researched it and now it lights me up. And podcasting is the perfect medium for me. And I absolutely fucking love it. And I do, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 episodes in. I love it. I love what I do. I'm so grateful for this platform. I'm so grateful for you as my listener. And again, it comes from this energy that you can probably feel radiating out of your speakers right now because I love it. And I waited for that perfect moment. I also booked high-ticket, multi-4-figure clients without doing the hustle. Again, that hustle comes from needing to prove ourselves. And so tapping into the feminine and bridging the masculine energies, bridging the action, the do, has allowed me to build this business based on pleasure, on femininity, on fulfillment, and on inspired action. So this doesn't mean I haven't done any hard work in my business. It just means that I'm not operating from this hustle mentality, of this lack mentality, of all the things that I need to do, because it gets to be effortless and it gets to be fun. And I get to attract my clients with ease. One of the things that I told myself when I first started my business was business gets to be fun. Business gets to be simple. It's not always necessarily easy because I will say there are some hard days, there are some challenging days, there are some days where I want to pull my hair out a little bit and wish that I had a 9-to-5 that I can just leave at 5 p.m. But most of the time, overall, man, I cannot tell you, like at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade this for the world. I would not trade this for anything. This is exactly where I'm meant to be. And I'm so grateful. And I'm so grateful that the action that I take is no longer action that comes from lack. It's no longer action that comes from what's going to happen if I don't do this. It's inspired action that lights me up and literally charges me as if I were a battery and allows me to go forward and go forth with this drive, this tenacity, this passion, this determination that I'm like, wow, I am meant to do this. I'm meant to do this. Another thing that's gotten me to $200,000 is only taking advice from the people that actually have the life that I want. People that actually truly understand entrepreneurship from a digital angle. right? I love my dad, but he also has a different experience working in corporate and being a partner of his firm and just having a completely different environment and space than I do. And so while I listen to him for a lot of different, a lot of different tips in terms of like investing and stocks and managing my money and saving, all of that good stuff, I do turn to different people in the online entrepreneurship space that have gone before me and that have built multi-7-figure businesses, these multi-million-dollar businesses, because they have gone through the specific things you need as a digital CEO, as an online entrepreneur, that you need in order to succeed. So there are a lot of people around me that will share their opinions and tell me this is what I think you should do, or actually you should do this, or why are you not doing this? And so over time, I've learned to just kind of sit and nod and allow them to share and just say thank you for sharing with me. And I will intend to do what I feel like is best in my business. Or if I feel like someone's crossing a boundary, then of course I will set a boundary and say, thank you so much for sharing, but I really trust my intuition. I trust my gut. And this is a really soul aligned decision. And I just ask for you to respect that. So I think a lot of us in building online businesses, sometimes we hear these comments, even if it's just take out the online, just a business in general, right? If you're an entrepreneur of any sort and you're around people that haven't started businesses, they can be quick to ask you, well, where's the money? Why are you not making any money? Why do you not have any clients? When did you get that ROI from that coach you invested in? And the biggest thing that I've learned to take away, from my business is that there is going to be a lot of delayed gratification as an entrepreneur. A lot of the best things that come to you are probably not going to happen overnight. But I also, not to contradict this too much, I also went into my business with this energy and mindset of, why does it have to take super long for me to get my 6 figures? Why does it have to take so long in order for me to work with my soul aligned clients, right? I think the more we think in our heads, it has to take a really long time. It has to be years and years and years and years before I can really reap what I sow. I'm saying that yes, there is delayed gratification in the sense where we do have to surrender and let some things go and recognize a lot of it's not going to happen overnight, but also, you can tell yourself the story of, I get to be successful efficiently. I get to experience wild abundance, financial abundance in a short amount of time because I deserve it, right? So this isn't expecting things to happen literally overnight when there are going to be there is going to take time when it comes to investing in your knowledge and your education and doing the trial and error necessary for you to experience specific quantum leaps, but also not telling yourself the story of, I can only celebrate wins in my business when I've been doing this for so and so long, or I have to feel like I've earned it, because you're worthy of your success, period. You're worthy before you even started. You're worthy before you started your website, before you started your Instagram page, before you set up your accounts, right? So I just want to remind you of that, is that you're worthy of success regardless of the time limit. And it doesn't have to be years and years, but also be open to more of that delayed gratification, especially for, where you see your business looking in 2 years or in 3 years. I know eventually in my business, I want to do live events. I am manifesting sold out events where I can connect, women entrepreneurs from around the world and to do retreats together and just to soak in each other's presence and have guest workshops and entrepreneurs that talk about specific topics that I know all of my listeners and all of my community would just absolutely adore. Just bringing a space of like high vibe business owners, coaches, mentors, guides from all over the world to come together and just soak up each other's energy. I know that's probably not going to happen this year due to the pandemic and because I am focusing on launching an academy this year, but it might happen in another year or 2 years, right? So I'm okay with building the foundation and being able to really set these things up for success so that they come later on. But I want you to know that you're worthy of your success. And Just a flashback to one of my previous episodes labeled The Real Reason Why You're Not Up Leveling. I just want to touch on, this is episode 7, by the way. Go ahead and either listen to it as a refresh, or if you haven't listened to it before, this is an amazing episode that has a lot of gems in it. But essentially, it outlines the fact that sometimes the reason we haven't up-leveled in our business, that we haven't experienced the quantum leap, is because there's something in our comfort zone that is keeping us from moving into that next level. Again, this is subconscious. This isn't something we're normally doing intentionally, but it's a story that we've told ourselves, or a story that we've picked up on sometime over the years that has told us that we're just not worthy of whatever it is that we're manifesting into our lives. And so in order for us to feel safe, in order for us to stay in our comfort zones, in order for our ego to be satisfied, sometimes we subconsciously keep ourselves in that space in order to keep us from up leveling, because we think if we up level, it means this. If we up level, it means I lose this. If I up level, it means I now have to do this, right? Maybe it is, if I up level, I won't be able to fit in with any of my friends anymore because none of them have businesses. Maybe it's, oh, if I make too much money, I'm going to have to pay so much in taxes. Or, my friends and family are going to look at me differently. Or I was raised in a really scarcity mindset where I was told that rich people are bad people. And so now that I'm making more money, I'm actually going to subconsciously stop myself from making more money because I don't want to be a bad person. I'm a good person, right? It's these stories that we've attached to these meanings that aren't even real. There's nothing that's real except for the stories and the values that we give to it. And so I just want to remind you, if you're listening to this and you're manifesting your own quantum leap that you're so worthy of and that is coming for you, it is on its way to you, just check yourself and see where you need to realign. What are some beliefs that you're still holding on to that you feel like you might not even deserve this in the first place? The craziest thing is that I was manifesting $100,000 within my first year in business. This is coming from a girl that was on food stamps as a single mom, that lived in a tiny bedroom that I was renting from a bigger house because that's all I could afford at the time. This is coming from a girl that, fed her daughter before her and just literally grew up with nothing, literally having to march my ass down to social services and ask for money from the government because I literally wasn't making enough, begging my parents for money that I can borrow in order to pay rent, and having to kind of put myself through that embarrassment every single time. And it was embarrassing. It was really hard on me, especially as a mom, because I wanted to provide for my daughter, especially as a single parent. If you're a single parent, or I mean, so many of you can empathize even if you're not a parent, but that is a really difficult position to be in. And so I don't even know how I felt like I could have manifested $100,000, but I came with it at this, I get to because I'm worthy of it. And that's it. I'm declaring it. It wasn't like, oh, well, I really hope that I make $100,000. I'm begging and I'm pleading, universe, please, just consider me. I've done this and this and this. It's no, it was I get to make $100,000 because I do, because I'm worthy of it, because energetically I'm a match for $100,000. And I wrote that on a Post-it note in my bathroom, in my bedroom, next to my bed, in my living room, in my kitchen. I even had one on one of my plants that said $100,000. And then under the number, I wrote, dive headfirst into your biggest fears. And that's what I did every single day. I did something that scared the fuck out of me. I did something that literally chilled me to my core. I would get on these sales calls with these clients. I would post about my business. I would create converting content. I would try and fail. And I would learn and I would succeed and I would invest and I would fall on my face and I would do it all over again. And I just kept doing it. I just kept going. I just kept being. I kept embodying that version of myself that had $100,000. And guess what? The universe said no. The universe said no, not $100,000. The universe said double that motherfucker. And here I am with $200,000 in revenue, and I'm coming up on my first year in business. And these are the most important lessons that I've learned. This is my story. A lot of it hasn't been perfect, and a lot of it also wasn't overnight. I was a content creator for 6 years before I even launched my very first offer. And so I want you to know, even though something looks really beautiful and great on the outside, nobody knew that I was struggling with vertigo. Nobody knew that I was working myself to death. Nobody knew that I was working 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-hour days and still not really getting anything done, right? And this is why I use my platform to share not just the high highs, but the very low lows. And my audience knows me as being very emotional, being very sensitive, being very open, very transparent and vulnerable with every single thing that I experience, because I want you to know that the healing journey never ends. The learning journey, it never ends. I am not coming from this place of like, oh, look at me, $200,000. I'm that bitch. Well, I am that bitch, but so are you. I'm not coming from that place of like egotistical, look at me, look at all this shiny shit that I have and this money that I have in the bank. It's me sharing this so that you can listen to this podcast, close the podcast app when you're done and be like, because Tiffany did it, I can do it too. Because Tiffany made $200,000 in a year, she's showing me what's possible. So I'm going to get up and I'm going to do that too. I'm also going to embody the 6-figure version of myself. I'm also going to embody the $200,000 version of myself and start taking inspired action and start being and start doing from that inspired place. I want you to know, with the law of oneness, anything is possible. What's possible for one is possible for all. The fact that you're listening to my success, the fact that you're listening to this story, this is how I saw it. I was exposed to multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs before I made my first 10K month, because they showed me what was possible. So by the time I manifested my first 10K month, I was like, okay, perfect. I am an energetic match for $10,000. Let's go to 20,000. Let's go to 50,000. Let's go to 100,000. And I allowed myself to up level in that space of I'm an energetic match. I'm embodying the version of myself that already has $100,000. And guess what? The universe was like, let's double it. You're worth so much more, right? And so it really is the energetic switch for me. It's the energetic switch for me, y'all. It's coming from this place of abundance, of this fulfillment and feeling so fulfilled, hitting $200,000, not because of the money, but because of the lives that I've impacted, because I love myself, because I believe that I am worthy with or without the money, because I've done the inner work and the healing, and because I have chosen to look at myself and be like, hey, I love you. You are doing great work. You are doing exactly what lights you up. And it's coming from that lit up, energetic, abundant place, so that when I did hit $200,000, my happiness didn't come from the $200,000. It came from inside of me. And that's where it's always going to come from. I hope that this podcast episode inspires you to chase your wildest dreams, however that ends up looking for you. I want to hear about any breakthroughs you might have experienced by listening to this episode. And I hope you go and manifest the life of your dreams, because you are so worthy and it is so possible. I love you. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at tiffanychung.co. I truly appreciate interacting with every one of you. Catch you all on the next one.